diversification is a money preservation strategy. If you look at most people, even Warren Buffett, he made his money on Geico and like going deep in insurance, and then took that, spread it around.
What are most brands doing wrong on social media?
Is forgetting that people take time to buy things. The average sales cycle online is generally between 3 weeks and 3 months. If you're not doing things to nurture and actually follow up with those people and stay in front of them and keep them coming back, you're probably missing out on 75-80% of your potential revenue.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Money Mondays. I am very excited for our guest today. This is one of the few people that I admire in the marketing space because he's been in the game just as long as I have, if not longer. And he's just been buying up all of our competitors, buying up all of our friends, and doing a full-fledged roll-up in the category. And right now, we're sitting in a parking lot. That's why we're in the RV motorhome. For busy gentlemen like this, I have to go drive to them. And he was speaking at an event that I'm actually throwing today here in the mortgage industry. I recently launched Elevator Funding, a mortgage company where we do everything in the mortgage space with eMortgage Capital as our partner. And they are throwing this mortgage event with us today here in Irvine, California. And so I decided to bring the RV motorhome. Trevor brought us out here so that I could catch Mr. Erik Huberman from Hawke Media. So as you guys know, we cover 3 core topics: how to make money, how to invest money, how to give it away to charity. This gentleman knows how to do all of those things at scale, and so I'm really excited to interview him. So what we're going to do is have him do the quick 2-minute bio so we can get straight to the money.
Sure. Bio. So, it's fun because of the path of money. I graduated in 2008, went into real estate 1 week before the whole industry collapsed, and made $350 my first year out of college and went, this isn't going to work. So I started working on an online music company, built basically like masterclass for the music industry, built that for 2 years, got it profitable, hired a CEO, and then built 2 e-commerce companies consecutively. The last one out of an incubator called Science that had just launched Dollar Shave Club, worked with their portfolio, built an activewear brand, sold it to Bally Total Fitness, and then this brings us to about 11 years ago, started consulting and advising for a bunch of brands, saw how broken the marketing ecosystem was, and started scaling it. And so fast forward, it's been 11 years. We've got about 250 full-time people. We've worked with over 5,000 brands. We've acquired 21 different agencies. It's crazy. We have a venture fund, and we're invested in over 100 different marketing tech and e-commerce tech companies. We're an owner in the women's soccer team in LA, got a family office on the commercial real estate side, and probably
all right, so it's not like we're going to do 7 episodes. Let's start with the beginning. Hawke Media.
Yeah.
When you decide, and by the way, Hawke is spelled with an E at the end in case you guys are looking it up. It's Hawke. Tell us about Hawke Media. How did it start? Why did it start? And let's go into that.
Yeah, it was really, I had built the credibility and actual knowledge on how to build these digital brands when it was new. This was 2013. I got a call from Red Bull, and they're like, how do we do this digital stuff? Like, that was a common phrase. What is this digital stuff?
What do I tweet?
Yeah, exactly. And so I just started consulting and advising and calling myself this outsourced CMO, and that resonated. And so then I started getting more business than I could handle, and I tried to use other agencies to actually execute, and I just found that 99% of them are full of shit. And so I just, after a few burned some of my clients, I went, I can't afford to keep this up. I got to just build my own team. And so I hired a small team using my consulting fees, and literally went back and said, now we can just execute it. Let's keep it super flexible. We're going to be the best at what we do, but easy to work with was always what we had in mind and how we built it. And that was it, off to the races.
So let's say someone out there is a brand owner. Mm-hmm. Why should they consider using an agency like Hawke or one of its competitors?
Sure. I think, there's a lot of reasons. One is I'm going to be able to attract and hire better talent than most companies. There's the really sexy, brands and the high flyers and the really great companies that, they might be able to compete, but most marketers don't want to go work at, just some other company. Yep. And so you're a victim of the talent you can attract in that situation. So that's number one. Number two, the forest from the trees thing is really important. So, we watch a lot of companies try to bring things in-house, and that usually lasts 6 months to a year, because it takes about that long to see the degrade of all your marketing starts going south because you don't have that outside perspective. And that's why every Fortune 2000 uses agencies. And the idea that it's binary or one or the other, I think, is crazy. And then for us, we've now built an AI system that's digesting over 8,000 companies, marketing, media, and revenue data in real time, training AI against it so it can look at an individual company and see exactly what's going wrong and right. You don't have that yourself. And so all the softwares we have, all the tools we have, all the knowledge we have, you're not going to build that in-house unless you're a Fortune 500, and then go figure all the Fortune 500s use agencies. So that's a big aspect.
So what I often say is when someone wants to hire in-house, they're like, I want to hire someone with 5 years experience and does this, and this on Meta. Someone with 5 years experience running paid ads is going to sell $2,000 a day of waffles and irons and
Yeah.
pillows.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't need to come work for you for $8,000 a month.
Yep.
When they can make literally thousands of dollars a day
Yep.
selling knives or
Yep.
selling cutlery or selling freaking
Yep.
bubbles.
Unless they're not actually good at it, and then they'll come take that job.
And they'll come work for you.
Yeah.
And so I always recommend on the agency side, when you're first starting out, listen, I understand. But there are agencies actually like Hawke, which they'll start with sometimes with 5K, 10K, 20K budgets.
Yep, we still do.
Rather than most agencies, which are like my agency is a 25K minimum, mostly because in the influencer space, you can't spend $5,000 and really figure it out. I need to actually spend enough money to matter. But for your agency, you're able to like really track and really dial in because you own 21 different agencies of all different topics.
Yep.
So walk us through, why did you go the roll-up route? Why did you decide I'm going to go buy up a lot of the competitors and interesting characters in the media and tech space?
It's the same talent conversation. It's like I can go and try to find a salesperson that can sell into something and like let's take Amazon as an interesting channel because it's one of the better growing ones we have. So I can go hire an Amazon expert and a salesperson that can support them or try to train my sales team to do that. And that process is slow. We just talked about this before the podcast. Like I want to be the best. Like marketing world domination is our mission statement. Like we want to go for it. And so instead of like that slow build where maybe in the next year or two I'll get to the point of what an agency is already doing, I can go find a great agency with really talented people that are already executing, give them my platform and everything we're able to do, and 1 + 1 can equal 3. So it's just at this stage of our company, it's a lot faster and more efficient and just a better process to just go buy.
So on the making money side, someone out there is like, I've got a brand or a product or a service and I want to make money, but I only have $10,000 to get started. What should they be looking for? They should be thinking about ROI. Should they be thinking about branding? Should they be thinking about hiring experts or consultants? Like, what are the first things someone can do when they're like, okay, I'm ready to go for it. My product is ready.
Yeah. I would say if you don't have a consistent $10,000 a month to spend, don't take it. Put it back in your pocket. If you're a founder of a company, you need to go figure out how to drive revenue, whether it's funding or actual revenue. You got to go build a war chest. Exactly. I mean, I spoke about this the other day at a conference. Like the whole selling things out of your trunk, it's not a metaphor. It's a real thing. Yeah, me too.
I did it in traffic before.
Yeah,
so I get into that story in a second.
Yeah, when I was selling lemonade as a kid, I used to run in front of cars because I knew they wouldn't run me over, and they wouldn't say no. But by the way,
New York don't do that. But
yeah, touche. Ojai, California. It was a small town. They'd stop. I positioned myself at a stop sign, and then they'd stop at the stop sign, and I'd walk in front of their car and hold up a lemonade glass.
Here.
Yeah. And so they had to say. I made them say no. But yeah, I mean, it really is. You got to go figure out how to start building your business organically in the beginning, or get someone that's going to fund it, which I think people chase fundraising a little too quickly. It is easier in the beginning, but my dad used to tell me money's expensive. Like you're giving a piece of your company. If you actually believe your company's going to be worth hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, why the hell would you give up a piece of your company early on? We've bootstrapped Hawke to this point. We've never taken outside capital. And like, if you can avoid it, that's great, but you have to be real with yourself. You might need the funding. And after that, again, when you can spend a consistent $10,000, then that's when you can get to start running some advertising, doing some email marketing to people. It depends on the product or service of really what you're going to do, but even influencer marketing depending. But it really starts with partnerships and things that don't cost money in the beginning. So like finding someone that aligns with your brand, that has an audience, that's willing to put it out there. You know, calling in favors, asking for help, hitting up influencers that might give you a shout out. Your commodity at that point is time because you don't have any money. So use your time to go find ways to get it out there. And then once you see the flywheel going, what's good about doing that, it's not just you need to save the money, you don't have it. It also forces you to really figure out what is the pitch? What is the value? How are people responding to it? Because when you're that in the weeds that you are selling your product personally, you learn a lot about your product.
So we're in San Diego, California, passing through Camp Pendleton, and there's those two huge globe-looking things on the right of the freeway. That's like a nuclear power plant. And something happened, and the freeway was stopped. Like we're not going anywhere all day is the way they explained it. And so I thought basically I have hours to go, but my partner at the time, his dad was the main executive for Rhino Linings, which was doing around $200 million a year for truck bedding back then. And him and the owner of the company were in the car with us. So as you can imagine, they're very busy guys. They're frustrated because we don't know when this multi-hour traffic's going to end. But I happen to have 60 t-shirts, 6 t-shirts in my trunk, 12 of each color, all different sizes. So it's not really, that part was a bit awkward. And so I got in the car and literally started selling t-shirts for hours. until I sold all of them. But here's the fun part: the billionaire guy, the main owner, and the dad got out of the car and helped us.
Yeah.
And so they walked around, and later they brought it up for like 2 years how much fun they had going back to their roots of selling.
I was gonna say that's the thing is if you've got that entrepreneur bug, it's the game that's fun. It's not about like I doubt you made that much money off T-shirts. It was just like, what am I gonna do with my time? I'm gonna go flex this muscle a little bit and have some fun with it.
I still think it was such a fun day.
Yeah,
like
100%.
We were selling them for $10 to $15 each times 60, so I was like made like $600 or $700.
Yeah,
gross, not net. By the way, that's people don't realize gross sales versus net sales. Okay, so on the investing side, why would someone, as they're growing their business, decide to start finally investing outside of their business?
Yeah.
Okay, they've started to scale their company. Now it's time to like, hey, maybe I'm going to put 50 grand into real estate or 50 grand into stocks.
Diversification is a money preservation strategy. So I've heard this a lot recently, and I believe it. You make your money on being hyper deep and focused. If you look at most people, even Warren Buffett, he made his money on Geico and like going deep in insurance, and then took that, spread it around. When I say maintain, I mean outpacing inflation, like maintaining according to how money is degrading, basically. And so to me, it's the forced function of getting some money out of your business so that you actually create a stable foundation to keep building on. Because if you keep everything in your business, businesses are risky. They're always risky. Companies go out, there's companies that go out of business after 100 years. So it's crazy to keep everything tied into one thing. And so as it starts to make money, having the ability to take some of it out and put it away so that you're set, it's the kind of saving for retirement thing. But honestly, as an entrepreneur, most aren't going to retire. But it's still like, God forbid, the business that I've put all my time in ends up not being necessary, or AI takes it over, etc. I've taken enough money out over time that I'll be okay and I'll figure out the next thing. I think it's a safety net.
So let's say someone listening has built up their company.
Yeah.
They're doing $4 million in sales,
Mm-hmm.
and Erik Huberman from Hawke Media calls and says, I want to buy your company.
Mm-hmm.
How do they make a decision of what the heck to do? Should they sell? Should they wait? Should they keep going?
Yep.
How do they figure out what to sell for and why to sell, and how do they explain? Like, just walk us through that process or thought process.
Yeah, we're a unique buyer. Like, we're looking to buy people that want to keep growing generally, and if they need an out. But like, we're not a big cash buyer, meaning like we're not just handing them a check and going goodbye. So it's one way or another they're going to be partnered up with us, and so the people that partner up with us are the ones that are like, I don't have a 3-year window or a 2-year window on this, and I'll explain why. I either am out now and I can't hang out, because other than us, most companies require an earn out, which means you have to stick around, you have to keep running it, and if you don't hit your metrics, you lose everything. Mm-hmm. And so you get a little bit of cash up front. Usually it's like 15% of the value of the deal, maybe half of your profit for the year you might get in some of these deals, but then everything else in contingent on you growing the business. And that's how the buyer mitigates their risk on making sure that you actually stick around.
Right.
For us, we just do it. If you succeed, we succeed. If you fail, we fail. We make it a lot more aligned. And so that works really well for people that want to keep going after those couple of years, because again, after those couple of years, you don't own your business anymore, it's done, or want to get out right now. We're kind of, if in that middle ground where you're like, I'm going to hit the numbers for 2 years and get out, that might be better, but there's not that many buyers for that at that scale of 1 to 5 million in revenue. And so the real thing for us is we're going to take, like, if you're running a business sub 4 million, 5 million, you're probably the head of HR, accounting, legal, sales, marketing, everything. And so we go, hey, thankfully we got, we had some tailwinds. We grew this business big. We have a great platform, great executive team. You get all that. So now all you have to do is focus on growth. We're going to take over the rest of this. And then the thesis has to be, do you think you can grow this a lot more aggressively if we take all the other bullshit off your plate? If you do, it's a good deal. If you don't, then it's not a good deal for either of us anyways. So that is the conversation we have, is if like you want to go make a lot more money. And I'd say the thing a lot of times they're giving up is the idea that they're, if someone is doubling every year and they think they're going to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars on their own, then it also probably doesn't make sense. It's the person that's, gotten it to this point. It's a lot of headwind, and they go, I'm making the cash, but it's not really, an agency under 10 million in revenue isn't worth that much.
Right.
And so it's like, why don't we just make a lot better cash flow together? And that's really where it comes in.
All right, Erik. So you've had over 5,000 clients over the years for Hawke Media.
Mm-hmm.
And ask you a very straightforward question. What are most brands doing wrong on social media?
On social media? It all goes into the same thing. Most brands are doing wrong in general, and it has to do with social media too, is forgetting that people take time to buy things. I say that and everyone goes, well, yeah. But then when they look at their social media numbers, their metrics, they look at how they're selling, their strategy for how they run ads, it's all about buy today, buy now, buy now. And the average sales cycle online is generally between 3 weeks and 3 months. And so like Facebook, as an example, on Meta only tracks a 1 week sales cycle through any of their clicks. So you actually can't track as long as you need to track to actually see these things. And most people don't understand that. And when I say most, I'm literally 99%. Like almost every agency I know, it's like they're still talking about ROAS, and ROAS is such a misleading number, and it's just a terrible stat. It's okay leading indicator if you understand how that plays into your marketing, but if you're not doing things to nurture and actually follow up with those people and stay in front of them and keep them coming back, you're probably missing out on 75-80% of your potential revenue. And literally, that's not exaggeration. So it's like, people, when I see all the struggles the past couple of years of e-com, it's because people just didn't understand these things, and so didn't do all the other pieces of it, like email marketing and SMS marketing and retargeting, to actually keep in front of their potential customers. And they just, when someone sees an ad, and then, let's be real, you're sitting bored between meetings, or you're on the toilet, or you're doing whatever, and you're on your phone and you see an ad and you go, oh, that's cool, and then you move on. Right. You might have intended to buy that, but you're going to need to see it again. And everybody knows this, but then when it comes to actually looking at their marketing, they forget.
So what I explain is, I call it, I'm going to retarget you till you buy or you die.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, once you click on something and you've showed intent to want to buy this product or ad I'm serving you, I'm going to retarget you until you buy it, or for the rest of your life.
And it works. I mean, anecdotally, I see it for myself. I'll see an ad and go, oh, that's cool, and I'll check it out and be like, I don't have time for this right now. And I might get served for 6 months before I go, you know what, I need to just buy that thing. I do want that thing. Yeah, and that's normal. Everybody's had that experience, and then they forget it when they're on the marketing side versus the buyer side.
Yes. Yeah, so when I sit with brands, they're always talking about the return on ad spend or the ROI. Yeah. Like, you don't realize that oftentimes when people are watching social media content from an influencer, they're not necessarily like waiting with their credit card out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they do want to see your Fashion Nova shirt or your Fit Tea out, drink, or your healthy product or your brand, whatever. But like, then they do. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that they're in the moment to buy when they're next to their significant other, they're at the movies, they're at a TV show, they're in a car at a stoplight. There's all sorts of times that they're watching. And so it's not always, and that's also why our agency, we do not allow for you to do a one post campaign. Yeah. So oftentimes like, oh, we just want to do a test and have like 50 influencers post for $50,000. I'm like,
not going to do anything.
No. Yeah. I'm not going to promise you any of that stuff. Yeah. Like it's insane because we don't know when they're going to see it. I want them to do 3 posts each. Yeah. Morning, 2 days later in the afternoon, maybe a week later at nighttime. So different times for the audiences. Yeah. I want them to build up a story about, hey, I just got this product. Yeah. Hey, I just used this product. Yeah. Hey, guess what? The product was so cool, they let me give you guys a discount. Yeah. Like, I want to build a storyline for the brand. I don't want to just be like, hey, buy this protein today.
Well, then back to the point, you have to have retargeting set up so that then when they actually go to the site, now whenever they're surfing the internet, they still see those ads around, and maybe you're even repurposing that influencer content on those ads. And then on top of that, you're doing email and collecting their email and SMS. So if they're not ready to buy, you're able to actually stay in touch with them forever, as you said, till they die or buy.
Buy or die.
And when they buy, I want them to buy again now. So I'm going to still keep hitting them up.
Yes. Yep. How often do you turn down clients?
Interesting. So we've always wanted to be the best at what we do and easy to work with. So I actually, other than obviously this is how much we can, like you said it great too, like $25,000 is what you need for an influencer campaign. For us, $10,000 per channel is really where you need to be. Yep. We can go down to 5 with the certain brands, but other than like, we don't want to go lower than that. And so other than that, the only real rule we have about working with companies, because we've been so surprised by products that I didn't think would be good that just crushed it, etc., is we don't work with assholes. Like, if they're going to be a dick, we're out. Yeah. Other than that, we're going to do everything we can to help.
Well, also, people don't realize about the jerk rule about not working with the jerks is nothing's ever enough.
Correct.
So even if you go crush it, they're like, hey, we're going to spend $100,000, and you go bring back 260. Yeah. And they were hoping for 150, and you brought back 260. Like, I thought you were going to do like 300 or 400.
Yeah.
Wait.
Well, and it just gets worse because like those are the people that's like threaten legal action, do all this stuff that you're just like, what are you doing? Like that's that. Yeah, you just the sort of if you can spot a narcissist or some sociopath before you can work with them, or even early into working with them, get out. Yeah. And the stat I tell my team, so 3 to 4% of people are sociopaths. Mm-hmm. It's an actual stat, and so on some level. And so we have currently about 700 companies running marketing for.
Right.
So if, let's say it's 3%, that's is it 21 companies? So 21 companies are being run by sociopaths. Right. And that's if they don't, that's if sociopaths don't over-index into entrepreneurship, which is also a thing.
Sure.
So we always know that there's a portion of our client base that is probably a little unhinged, and we try to spot it. And if they're being irrational and that kind of thing, we do try to very amicably, very carefully just back out. That's how. But it's hard to spot during the sales process. So
on the other side, you've worked with over 5,000 brands over the years.
Yeah.
What are brands doing right? What are they doing good out there?
90% of what we do, and I think it's important, is focused on the scalable, repeatable part of marketing, because to me, it's the pipes that really grow a business, and then the viral part, the really good brand, etc. That's what comes over the top that puts an X factor on everything. And I think where the number one thing companies do really well, and the most important part, is when you have a great product that people want. So like and we both run into it a lot, I'm sure, is the person that started a company for the sake of starting a company, not because anyone actually needs what they do. Those are tough. But when someone's actually got a great product and everybody likes it, trying to think how much I can share with this. We have I can share the company, I can't share the partner. We have a company we're working with right now. It's Vanessa Hudgens and Oliver Trevina's company, Cali Water. You've probably seen it. They're crushing it, and the reason is we then showed it to what is probably going to be a massive partner for them. And we handed them a can because we have it in our office now. And they literally cracked it open, took a sip and went, this is awesome. Like that, it is that simple. Now they're going to be, very big partner for them. And so those are the things that, like, if you have a good product, marketing's easy. If you have a bad product, marketing's near impossible. And so that's number one. Again, number two is getting all the pipes in order and getting your net in order. Meaning, when I say net, I mean your email marketing capture, your SMS, your retargeting, all the things, so that when something kicks off on the sort of viral side, that 10% of marketing, it's about branding and going viral and really building that. When that happens, you're ready to capture all that opportunity and not let anything fall through the cracks. And then having something compelling to go build that brand and that differentiator and get the word out there, and building that word of mouth and building that culture around it and everything. That's big.
That's actually one of our catchphrases at Elevator Studio is, we can't undo famous.
Yeah.
Like, if we make you famous and we have 50 influencers post you and they got 50 million followers, for example, there's no takebacks.
Yep.
But we also say we can lead the horses to water. We can't make them buy your stuff.
Yep.
Like, I can make you famous.
Yep.
But just because I make you famous doesn't mean that people actually want to buy your stuff. If your website doesn't work,
exactly,
your retargeting doesn't work, if your checkout button's not working, like,
or as simple as your differentiator for your product and your value proposition isn't really that compelling. Like, it's like, yeah, cool, no one cares. It happens.
Or another t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. So
there has to be something about your t-shirt to make someone want to buy it. And then so that's the other thing, is like, a lot of brands get super excited. They're like, we got into Ralph's, or we got into this chain store, or we got into this press. But then they don't realize what it takes to sell it through.
Yes.
Like, talk us through the actual real life process, like, especially for beverage brands, food brands. Like, you can get on the shelf at a big chain store. But you need to sell X% per week, or you're out of there.
We've seen that a lot, because a lot of companies, they spend all their time developing product and getting on the shelf, and then nobody knows it. Good packaging is a really big one, because people will walk through the aisles. That's one benefit of retail. But we've seen, it's funny, there's it's an underutilized part of the market is using digital to drive into store, when you know people that are the right, psychographic info, right geographic info, and they're within 2 miles of that store, and you can actually compel them to go in. We've done this a lot. You can outpace a lot of their projections because you can juice it without them even knowing, meaning this retailer, you get into Ralph's or whatever, and now you're in these retailers and you drive some digital ads to get them in. Ralph's doesn't even know you're doing that, and all of a sudden your stuff's selling off the shelf way faster. We did this with a toy company with Target, and they sold out what they thought would be the 3-month holiday worth of, it was again a toy company. They thought the whole holiday season was covered with their inventory, and they sold out in a week. And so they thought they had 12 weeks worth of product, and we sold it in a week, and they had no idea why. So they just bought 10 times as much and went, fuck it, great, and rolled out into all Targets. And that there's a balance there where you got to sell that too, but you get that visibility, you get out there. It's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and then support it with the same type of ad strategy, and it works. So being on shelf in store, the strategy is slightly different than internet, where at internet you're driving for a direct conversion. In store, you're driving to people so that when they walk through the store, they pick your stuff over something else, or they see it and go, wait, I recognize that, and grab it. It again, we can, or as far as drive down to the store and pick it up, which you can do all sorts of different promotions to make happen. And then you have on-site, on-premise, which we're not as involved in, but there's a lot of great strategies with testing and having promotion on-site.
So there's a founder listening to this right now, and they've got 2 employees, themselves and themselves. But they're finally ready to hire someone. Why is it important to invest into people?
Yeah. I always found it's important to remind yourself you're the most expensive employee. So if you can't afford to pay once something's taking a lot of your time, if it doesn't make sense for you to pay someone else to do that, you probably shouldn't be doing it either, and you have to figure out a more efficient way to do it. It's a force factor to me to find ways to scale, because if I can't afford to pay someone to do that, well, why the hell am I doing it then? I'm expensive. I'm the founder. And so, my first hire was an assistant, because it was just like, what are all the things that are taking my time that I can put onto someone that I can train them to do the easy tasks that are taking a ton of time. Let's start there. And so and then to me, hiring is all about finding what is the bottleneck and who can I put in to alleviate that bottleneck. And the key is not hiring people that are going to take like a whole department over. Like I see this mistake with salespeople a lot, where the founder is selling, doing partnerships, doing, generating leads, closing deals, and building partnerships, and then they go hire a salesperson expecting the same thing. It's like, if they were they could do the same thing, they'd be running your company. Like, they're not going to do the same thing. And so understanding that, as much as it's sometimes a negative from employees saying it, you do kind of need cogs in the wheel. And so finding what is that task or that thing that you need someone to take off your plate that could be a full-time job that you can afford to pay the right rate for. And again, if you can't, you need to figure out your business model better, and then continue to scale that way. What's the next thing that's the bottleneck? A good example, when we talk about hiring a salesperson, is it that you don't have enough leads, or is it that you don't have enough time to close all your deals? Because those are 2 very different things. And with closing all your deals, I've seen this with other people. If it's closing all your deals, work harder. Stay up nights, work weekends, close your deals. That's crazy. Like, stay up, keep up as much as you can, and then maybe get someone junior to start training alongside you to whatever it is that's bogging you down, that's not allowing you. Because it's a very rare company with 2 people has so much deal flow that they can't handle it. Unless there's other things that are bogging you down. And so I always believe, especially as a founder, generally you're going to be outward facing. So anything you can that's not outward facing, you should start to offload.
Same founder is listening to Erik right now, and he wants to know why he should invest into his personal brand.
Good question. To me, it's another marketing channel. It's the same question as like, why would I want to do email marketing, or why do I want to do social media marketing? As an individual, and we bought a personal branding agency because we saw they did mine, and I just have always seen the value and went, we should just offer this as another marketing channel, where if an owner of a company can do a lot of things a company can't. Owner of a company can write a book. Weird if you release a book with just the company's name on it. An owner of a company can speak at a conference, can be on a podcast, can do all these things that are otherwise not doable without someone that's the face. And so when you build a personal brand, it opens a lot of doors for you. And at this point, because I've invested in it, we've got our TV show on A&E and Hulu with Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson called Kings of Barbecue, best-selling book, The Hawke Method, and all these things then open up stages. Yesterday I was speaking on stage at the DigiDay conference with a room full of brands that want to get to know me. Today we're at this mortgage conference. And so it's all these different things open up for an individual that's the company can't do that. And so I think of myself as a marketing channel for Hawke just as much as most founders can be a marketing channel for their business.
All right, so we talked about making money. We talked about investing money and investing into your brand. Let's talk about the charity side, about giving it away.
Yep.
Why do you think it's important for brands to incorporate philanthropy into their companies?
I think it's expected now. So I think the days of Tom's shoes, buy one, give one, I think people expect it, so it's not necessarily a good marketing channel anymore. It helps with buyer's remorse and helps with I want to really grabbing your super fans and people that love everything your brand's about and seeing that your values are aligned with them. Gen Z cares a lot about this more than any other generation. So it's, if you're going for younger demo, etc. But honestly, I think it's more about, if you're fortunate enough to run a business that's successful and making money, I think it's an obligation to do well for your society and people around you in some way and give back, just because, again, you're fortunate. We look at these stats. I think that we're living in a world of social media where everyone thinks that they make everyone's making $500,000 a year, and the average is the average salary in the U.S. now I think is $75,000. And so if you're fortunate enough to be way over that, I think it's your obligation to find ways to help. And my view of charity has been, we also have a platform. So instead of like writing a check and being silent and we do that too, but like just giving someone a check, I try to leverage our horsepower. So we do a lot of pro bono work, a lot of free work, a lot of marketing support for nonprofits and charities, because I can add so much more value that way than just, here's 10 grand or 50 grand. That's fine. But like, I can give someone, $500,000 worth of marketing services instead.
Right.
And they're going to go raise
Millions.
5 million off
Right.
that, so that's where like we just did, the campaign with Jane Goodall called Vote for Nature. We gave her a full marketing team for free, and she was on Colbert, and she partnered with Global Citizen on it, and we pushed that out for 3 months and helped her with the whole social strategy and email strategy and campaign around it and messaging. And again, I talk to my team all the time, like, we're not curing cancer at Hawke Media, but hopefully one day we'll market the cure for cancer. Like, this is the place where
that's good.
And I'd say the other piece, because education's really our main focus when it comes to nonprofit work. And it's also about, like, I live in this society too, and I want to help society as a whole, because there is a selfish aspect of that, of like, if I can take care of other people, crime goes down, safety goes up, people are better. Like, it's just like the better we're all doing, the better we're all doing. And the tide rises all ships. So if you're in a position to be able to give back, I think it is self-serving too, but it's also your obligation.
Well, we have the world's largest toy drive coming up, so you might get a phone call.
Yeah, please.
We got 6 cities lined up already.
Amazing.
We did 11 cities last year, which in 15-day period, which I don't recommend.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We're gonna break the record again, the Guinness Book.
Doing SoFi again?
We're gonna do Miami Heat. We're doing in Vegas. We're doing in LA. We're gonna do it back at Hubble Studio again.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
And then Phoenix, Salt Lake City, maybe Boston.
Shout out to Vince at Hubble.
Oh yeah. And then New Jersey, we already have 650 people registered for that one. So
wow.
Excited for the toy drive this year, but it's the same thing, 6 or 7 cities.
And so why do you do that?
So this will be our 11th year, and I don't ever really try to raise money. This time we actually want to raise money because we want people to go buy the toys in general. But our first time, there was 8 of us on the floor wrapping toys at Hubble Studio.
And what drove you to do that? Like, what was the motivation?
I like charities where you can see, feel, and touch it.
Yeah.
Where I can get people to actually come there in person, and they can give the toy to a child.
Yeah.
Or someone that can't normally donate to something can go buy a $3 toy if they have it. They don't have to buy a $50 toy. Go buy a $3 toy. Yep. And let them get through the experience. And if you can't even afford the $3, no problem. Come here and help us wrap toys.
Yeah.
You can afford to sit on the floor with us and wrap toys.
Yep.
And
Time
so
or money. The two
we went from 8 volunteers to 21 to now there's hundreds of volunteers, and now we do it in all these different cities. And so to me, it's just, I want to build charities that people can replicate. You don't need to donate to my toy drive. You do a toy drive.
Yep.
You can do it in Wisconsin, Alabama, Arkansas. Like, you don't need me to be there. You can do a toy drive. Same thing with Thanksgiving food drive, back to school day. We have a campaign called 2 Years Too Long to give away clothes if it's in your closet for more than 2 years.
I love that.
$100 tipping.
We do that too. Just ourselves. And no, we don't. Yeah.
$100 tipping dinners. Now there's been thousands and thousands of those. Like, I make charities that people replicate. That's my goal.
Because then you have a bigger impact. It's scalable.
And it becomes way bigger than me. They have no idea that I started the tipping dinner. They have no idea about.
That's what's cool. You're not doing it for ego, which I think is important. You're doing it because you want to make the world a better place and what's going to have the largest impact.
If I do it for ego, it's capped at me, meaning it can only get as big as me.
Yep.
If I do it without my name on it, it becomes a global thing. People can do tipping dinners and toy drives all over the world.
Yep.
Last question.
Yes.
I ask this question every single time.
Great.
Almost every time. And I've never gotten the same answer. One day, 100 years from now, maybe longer with modern technology, it's time for Erik to finally pass away. And you build up Hawke Media. Instead of 21 companies, you've got 210 companies, a multi-billion-dollar company.
That's hopefully the end of next year, but yeah.
What percentage do you leave to your children?
Oh, interesting. And because I've been through this, my dad passed and was a very successful guy and got siblings, and transparently he left everything to us and my stepmom in a very equal way. And I know there's a lot of pushback on this, but I'm kind of the same boat. I had this conversation with a good friend. You know John Hall? I think you okay. I think you've run into each other before. Really talented entrepreneur, and we were talking about this. I won't say what he said and blow him up, but what I was saying is I think the day I die will probably be the richest day of my life because I love the game so much that the scoreboard and the building is what I love. So I don't think I'll ever retire. I think I'll keep building, and that's part of it. I think, again, being charitable along the way, I probably will leave everything to my children, other than maybe some side gifts and things like that. with the hope that I've raised them well, that they continue to take care of the world. Because my issue that I've seen, I've been on the board of quite a few nonprofits. The money's not managed very well. I'd rather manage the money and keep giving than hand it to them. And so we'll see if that dynamic changes. But both my wife and I are pretty much on the same page that what's mine is my kids eventually. And hopefully I raise them to do their own thing. And this is a bonus, which is how I was raised. But yeah, that's my view of it.
Very cool. Where can people find you across social media, or find Hawke Media if they're ready to go with you guys?
Yeah, hawkemedia.com, HAWKE media.com, and then I'm @ or / Erik Huberman on any social. Pretty easy to find.
Very cool.
Yep.
All right, guys. This is one of those episodes. Again, if you have people that have brands or entrepreneurs or think about starting a brand, product, or service, this is the type of episode you should forward to them. Check out Erik's content on social media. He's obviously doing speeches, really good content, teaching about this stuff in a very free and open format, because he and I are very blunt when it comes to marketing, execution, and we want people to do better out there, because it's better for our whole society if you guys do better, build your businesses.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an charitable element to that. If you go build companies and hire a bunch of employees, it's almost like a form of charity to me. That's why I invest in so many companies. And similar with Erik, he's invested in over 100 companies now in a similar format. And so we want you guys to be out there moving and shaking. As you guys know, the whole concept of Money Mondays is to have very blunt discussions with your friends, family, and followers about money. We all grew up thinking it's rude to talk about money. I think it's insane. I think that's why we have massive debt, and so many people don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to spell IRS. They don't know what to do for their taxes or FICO scores or anything like those, because we just didn't talk about it. And so this podcast and this platform is for you guys to have these really straightforward discussions. So if you can, share, comment, like, etc. As you notice, we've been running this ad-free for over a year and a half. Keeping us up there in the top 10 in the podcast category is because of you guys. So every time you like, comment, share, etc., it helps us. So check out Erik Huberman across social media. Check out Hawke Media, and we will see you guys next week on themoneymondays.com.